Netanel Portier is devoted to catalyzing social engagement and meaningful action through public art, and has close to 20 years of experience in bringing diverse artists and communities together for transformative projects and programs as a program director, project manager, artist, teacher, curator, and mediatrix culturelle. In her current role as director of the Mural Arts Institute in Philadelphia, Portier designs innovative initiatives and lead learning engagement across the US and internationally with involved artists, activists, cultural workers, institutions, and community-led organizations. Netanel is a graduate of the École Nationale Supérieure des Arts Décoratifs in Paris, France. So it's a very impressive preview, Netanel. And we are here to talk about your work. We are here to talk about the organization that you're representing. So the Mural Art Institute is, how many years you've been operating as an organization?
Well, so Mural Arts Philadelphia is almost 40 years old, somewhere between 35 and 40. And I've been with Mural Arts about 12 years. And the Mural Arts Institute has been in existence for the past 4 years.
That's amazing. I think we can't find a lot of examples like this for a nonprofit institute that's run for so many years. And for us, it's a really beautiful study case, especially here in Zumu. So thank you all for joining us. So Zumu is, in this case, in the city of Lod, had a lot of, in comparison with the project that you're about to see. But Netanel, maybe I'll let you start. You know, give your presentation. That will give us a better point of view.
Wonderful. So hi everyone. I'm sorry I can't see you, so I'm just talking to my screen. It's kind of strange. So my name is Netanel Portier. Yes, my first name is Hebrew, Netanel. You guys could probably pronounce it better than me. And I use she, her pronouns. Usually I am based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is originally the unceded land of the Lenni Lenape indigenous peoples of that land. I'm actually right now speaking to you from Bari, Italy, where I'm representing Mural Arts Philadelphia also for another urban art and social action conference. So I apologize for the internet difficulties today. One more accessibility statement, just in case there is anyone that's having trouble seeing me. I'm a middle-aged white woman with very thick brown eyebrows, brown shoulder-length hair. I'm wearing a black cardigan, and you can see a hotel room behind me. There's a bed and there's a curtain. So just making sure I get all my accessibility statements in before I begin. So who is Mural Arts Philadelphia? So Mural Arts Philadelphia is an organization, a community-based public art organization that sits at the intersection of the aesthetic and the social. And we have seen the impact that this public art making has had on individuals and communities, and by extension, the transformative impact that this has had on our civic life in Philadelphia as it is. And so what we really wholeheartedly believe in, and in everything we do, is that art ignites change. And really, we are all about igniting change, not just in the places where the murals or public art works are created, but in individuals and community, and to change systems, as well as continually evolving our practice. And all of this for the goal of more just and equitable Philadelphia. With the Mural Arts Institute, we're going beyond Philadelphia. So we're helping other change makers do the same thing. When we talk about public art, it's about partnerships, it's about building relationships, it's about listening, it's about learning from each other. Public art comes in all shapes and sizes. This is why we talk a lot about the practice. It's the process of making the work or experiencing the work together that is really at the heart of what we do. So we, it goes beyond murals and sculptures, but performances, meals, different forms of cultural practice, any and all above, as long as there's art, community, people coming together, and a really intentional process in terms of what the goals of the project is. Socially engaged art really positions us in the justice framework. So really looking at how this work is different than more contemporary studio art practices. It's really about changing conditions in a community or in the world at large. So artists who do this work are very, there's certain skills that they have or that they need to develop to be really engaged in this work. It's very different than a studio art practice. I want to just for a minute recognize our founder and executive director, Jane Golden, because she was an artist, right? Artists are catalysts for change. This is her here in the middle of this group. She started as a teaching artist for the Anti-Graffiti Network, which was an incredibly a radical organization. Can you hear me?
No, we don't. The presentation, we don't know where you're at.
Oh no, is it not? Are the slides not changing again? Okay, let me retry again. Hold on, sorry. Let's try again. Sometimes this happens the first time.
And now we believe that art, okay, yeah, public art.
Now it's working. Okay, so this is the public art slide. You can see it's more than murals. We do lots of other things. And this important quote, if you don't know, is it going on to the next slide? It's good. Okay, so Helicon Collaborative is actually a great research group in the United States who's written a lot about socially engaged art. And we really love this definition of ours that I was just calling out earlier. And here's Jane Golden with a group of folks back in the 80s. So she started as a teaching artist for the Anti-Graffiti Network and really grew to become a leader of public art and social justice in Philadelphia. So going from a teaching artist to directing a program that started as just a city agency and very quickly grew to become the large organization that we are today. And to give in the United States, but it is the population live well below the federal poverty line. So we are part city and part nonprofit still today. So we create change, not just as artists, catalysts in the community, but also from the inside as a city partner, as part of the city. Again, just to give you an idea of the scope, we're the #1 employer of artists in the city of Philadelphia. There's no other organization like ours that exists across the United States. We work in many different areas. Our work started really in response to community through civic engagement focused murals, but we grew to include also an arts education department, a criminal justice reform initiative, focusing also on community wellness through the Porchlight Department, now more recently an environmental justice program and the Mural Arts Institute in building capacity internally as well as others across the country. Our work is about listening, really being attentive to what people's needs are, but also their desires, right? It's not just about what people need, but what they desire. Identifying those opportunities. It's about co-powering the work that we do together. We work together with the artists and communities to design the projects, to design the actual murals themselves. So the work itself doesn't belong just to the artists. It doesn't belong just to mural arts. It belongs to the community. And we also are able to engage folks in actually creating the murals with us as well, which is really a transformative moment when people come together side by side with paintbrushes to paint. There's so much that happens when people come together to create something. And we're able to do this thanks to a method where we use a polytab cloth that we then adhere to the surface of the wall. We can bring this anywhere. We've done paint days, as you can see, outdoors, in schools, in rec centers, and we bring this into prison and work with inmates who will be there for the rest of their lives. They're able to contribute to the beauty of our city and to really meaningful conversations. And we celebrate our projects as well. This is really an important moment to solidify the partnerships and relationships and trust that has been built over a long period of time.
So one thing that is important maybe to say, so I see your organization almost like as a mechanism, you know, where we have the wall, the wall painting, but not necessarily just the wall painting. It can be also a projection, a performance, but there is your special dedication for wall painting that makes it a very efficient, let's call it, like a mechanism of communicating with the people in the community. I was wondering, just to make the audience to be more familiarized with the process that you do. You know, starting from the founder that kind of initiated the whole process of transforming graffiti artists and writers and making them part of the more of the city's activity. But if you can more emphasize maybe what the relationship between an artist, a community, and a wall, you can say.
Okay. Well, first of all, our approach is that we see ourselves as collaborators and facilitators to a relationship that is being built around a common goal, right? So is the goal to create a space of healing, for example, for mothers who've lost their sons to gun violence? Is the goal to destigmatize the clients of a methadone clinic and connect them with the neighboring you know, folks of the community around the space that they share together? So we see ourselves as facilitating that. And where the wall comes in, which can be very different than some street art practices, for example, is that we always ask permission. The site owner is just as much a part of the community as the community members. And you want that site owner to feel as proud, as included, and as trusted as you want every part of the community to feel and be engaged in the process as well. Because really the mural is almost the, you know, the physical manifestation of a process, of a relationship, of a change that is occurring, of a transformation we're looking to achieve.
So the mural is almost like a contract. It's the signing contract between and you and the community. So you're bringing up quite like tough subject, like if it's violence, drugs, and I guess with this subject comes very strong emotions, both on the individual level and also on the collective level. I was wondering if you can just tell us a bit of like stories or way of operation with this sensitive subject.
Yeah. Let me pull up an example from this deck since I know we're running out of time. Let me see. Well, let me pull up this one from Porchlight. Okay, hold on. I'm going to reshare my screen so you guys can see this. So, for example, our Porchlight program actually started with this site right here. You can see, pretty depressing, right? This site is a methadone clinic. So this is where individuals who suffer from a chemical dependency come to receive their treatment and to connect with social workers, that provide other therapeutic support, as well as connect them to other resources. This is in a neighborhood that is also, a pretty poor neighborhood of Philadelphia. And people there are seeing lines of clients to the site outside of the door of this building every day, and they see them as different than they are. They don't, they complain, why are they doing this here? Why in our neighborhood? They feel like, it looks bad to them. Meanwhile, the clients who go to this site are also struggling with their own trauma that has led them probably to their chemical dependency. And so what we did at this site is that we created an art studio in the basement of this building. We decided, we're going to use the idea of transforming the site, so transforming this entire wall through a mural project, as the means to bring people together, to not only create individual transformation for the clients in the site, but also to connect the community to the site, to these individuals. And the way we did this was not only with art workshops, but there were poetry workshops, there was theater, photography, and most importantly, the community paint days, the community designing days and community paint days. And so these are moments where there were meetings that anybody could join, not just people, not just the clients of this clinic, but also community members. Paint days were in the lot in front of this building. It was like a party happening once a month that people could come out. And when people are standing or sitting next to each other painting a mural, they see themselves as similar. They start talking, they pass the cup of paint to each other. The resources that we had to offer were resources that they all needed, not just the clients that come to this site. And the social workers told us about the transformation that this work had on the individuals coming to receive treatment, and that they were more receptive to their sessions if they had spent, just half an hour writing poetry or working on the mural design with the artist and assistants. And that, even the folks who, some of the clients of the site told us that they began to see themselves no longer as addicts, but as people, as artists, as people who had things to share, who had the right to share things, to connect with others, and that they weren't scared to connect with others anymore. So they were connecting with neighbors, they were connecting with each other, and many of them, this project completely transformed their lives permanently.
This is interesting. It's also relating to what we do here in Zumu about the multidimensional way a project operates, and the different ways in which we touch lives, in which we enter to other people's space. I think the question of permission is very strong in the case that you're presenting. How long does a process like that takes? Like, well, we see it as a through the image, but how many months are in process here?
This project is probably a 2-year project, I'm thinking, because, or at least 1.5 years, just because of the scale of the mural is so huge, that I think it took just as long to actually paint the mural as it did to build the relationships and trust with the workers in this building, with the neighbors around, with the clients who were coming, and and running all of those workshops and everything. So that then when there were the public paint days, we really wanted to gauge as many people as possible. And that takes a lot of time to coordinate all of that, but it's important. It's really important to the process. And it's interesting what you say, because we sort of took that model and switched it, flipped it a little bit, because based on that first project, the Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability Services in the city of Philadelphia, who was a partner in that project, decided to fund us to continue to do more similar projects with individual and community wellness goals. And they identified a specific community, Southeast Philadelphia, where there was a huge influx of Southeast Asian refugees being housed in that neighborhood. And they were foreseeing, these folks with the trauma that they already had coming into South Philly, being re-traumatized by just like being in a new space, not understanding, sort of the social norms and needing support there, and asked us, so what can you guys do? If you partner with some of these other social service agencies, what would that look like? And that's where artist Shira Walensky and social worker Melissa Fogg had the genius idea to open up a space that was literally on the street in an empty storefront, right in the middle of where this community was, and to open it with a number of different partners. So they opened it with not just mural arts as the arts partner, but also a number of different social service agencies, the civic organizations that represent the community that's lived there for, maybe 30, 40 years, as well as the civic organization that actually already represented Asian immigrants in that neighborhood. And they designed together a whole suite of workshops and programs that would run regularly for folks across that neighborhood.
I think you're touching base on important notes here, also discussing how these kind of projects are basically, they're almost like a supportive system. It's not only you, it involves the social workers, it involves so many other organizations, that are supporting basically the ecosystem of a place, of people, and also the fact of the element of time in this project. The fact that the project takes 2 years, it takes 1 year. I think that would make things more rooted and make the different operations in a way work better or synchronize with each other. So this is actually a truly wonderful study case also for us and for other people. Our time is short, but I would just like to ask a final question, kind of a massive question, but we'll just start to touch base on it, which is current affairs. We're facing massive changes now, especially for you guys in the States. Of course, COVID that hits us all, but also the whole movement of Me Too, of Black Lives Matter. These things had a huge effect on the street, on the way we understand public spaces, private spaces. How are you? What are your main actions or facing these new changes?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll show some images too, because I love to share images. Let's do this. Yes, definitely. We've been really responsive since things really started to shift in 2020. So we were really responsive in helping out any and all young artists who had something to say and wanted to get it up on the wall. This is one of those examples. Really quick response. We did what a lot of other arts organizations did. We wanted to keep artists employed and make sure people understood how valuable they are. So we went virtual with programs. We hired many artists to create these space pads, these like vinyl stickers on the grounds, reminding people to keep their distance in post offices, supermarkets, all of that. They're really fun and beautiful. We had folks also painting boarded up storefronts. A lot of downtown Philadelphia businesses closed down. It's really sad. We're still seeing what's remaining from that, but at least we were able to get some artwork up on those walls as well. The hub space I was just telling you about with the Southeast Asian immigrants, they got to work sewing masks because they are really skilled with textile work, and they made over 3,000 that they distributed to nurses and frontline workers. And also, we always think about those who are most vulnerable. Washing your hands was a really important thing. It still is in times of COVID, but there are people who don't have access to where to wash their hands, right? There are folks that are housing insecure that need access to this that we take for granted. Oh, are you seeing these images?
No, we just seen the stable image.
Oh my goodness, again. Okay, hold on a second. Sorry, it's a great image. Okay, is this flipping through now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. These are the space pads. Now you can see how pretty they are. Our artists made these. It's what they look like on the ground. And the mask making. And so here we are. We partnered with Broad Street Ministry that serves many, many, many folks who are housing insecure across the city. And they had the data to know where to set up these hand washing stations for folks who are housing insecure. And we created these pop-up murals to draw people's attention to where they could have access to this very simple thing that we take for granted, which is washing our hands. And also in terms of Black Lives Matter, we need to recognize that those who are impacted most by COVID are frontline workers and folks who are already facing really huge environmental injustice. So that means, they live in neighborhoods that are the first ones impacted by pollution, et cetera, et cetera. And these are the Black and brown folks of our community. And we work with many of them already. And so our restorative justice program, our guild, these are young men and women coming out of prison. They created this awesome poster campaign about coming out of COVID. And they even wrote poetry and recorded spoken word videos along with these. These were posted across the city in different places, as well as Russell Craig, who is a former participant in the Guild, who's now a famous artist, created this amazing mural on our municipal services buildings, which everyone goes to for any sort of city services. It's right smack in the middle of downtown Philadelphia, across from City Hall, and is now wrapped around with powerful Black men and women, some historic figures also in some of the shots on the side. And this is something that our mayor stood by and was happy to host as during this time. And that's also part of us being inside and outside at the same time. We're able to have these difficult conversations with our city leadership and make powerful statements like this happen. And the Fellowship for Black Artists also, we wanted to make sure that as many Black artists as possible had connection to training opportunities as well as just money to continue doing their work during this time. I think that answered your question.
The way basically you're so engaged in, I will phrase it as allowing voices to be heard, and that notion of speaking out and allowing someone to speak has, and I think the interesting part is that you don't only see it as a visual statement. The visual is the starting point. And it's the most, maybe the strongest point, as it is visible for everyone. But there is also the fact that it has an economical output, it has a social output, it has the conversations that are being held around an operation, even difficult ones, even the problematic ones, the moment where you don't get permission, which is also a really interesting study case. But anyway, really thank you for that short but very powerful demonstration. I feel that we all have something to learn here from seeing how an organization that has been run for 30 or 40 years, I don't remember the number, but what can happen if you keep on going and if you allow something to grow like that and to expand to so many directions. Netanel, thank you so much. I apologize for our problems, the technical problems we're facing, but it's beautiful that we can have that conversation. Thank technology. So and for also for allowing your voice to be heard in here at Zumu in the city of Lod. A city that is truly facing a lot of diversity and multiple voices effects and yeah, like thank you for being here.
Thank you. I hope it's just the beginning of a conversation. I look forward to any others. And one final thing I just want to say is it's not just giving a megaphone for people's voices, but it's also creating the conditions in which everyone can hear each other, right? And really listen. So I applaud you on the work that you're doing and bringing people together with that in mind. And thank you for including me in the conversation today.
The word that we like to use in our internal conversation with the team is fertile ground. When you make the ground fertile, so a lot of things can grow in many directions. So yes, I agree with you on that statement.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great evening. Yeah.
Have a good evening. Bye.